Welcome to Urbanomics on Cannabis Tech. I'm your host, Christina Etter. Now, Urbanomics is a podcast that we've designed to follow the broad range of product innovations that are coming from the industrial hemp and cannabis industries. Now, from market economics to finished goods, we try to give hemp producers the opportunity to show off a wide world of possibilities with this plant. Now, in past shows, we have talked about hemp woods, we've talked about hemp fibers, hemp plastics, but what about hemp skincare? I've invited Kim Howard and Briget May, two lovely ladies from Wine Country, California, who are business partners and co-founders of Green Bee Botanicals, which have a farm-to-face skincare line that is made from high-quality organic hemp and cannabis. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
So, girls, the first thing I want you to do for this podcast is just tell us a little bit about yourself and, a little bit about your background and kind of what led you into this space. And, either one of you are welcome to jump in and take the ball here.
Okay. I'll start. I'm Bridget. I'm the founder, CEO, and in-house formulator for Green Bee Botanicals. And, how did I get started? Well, my background is in biotech and pharmaceutical industry, pharmaceutical companies. I was working as an analytical chemist for about 15 years, working, in a lab, testing products and developing testing methods for pharmaceutical drugs. It was a great job. I loved the people I worked with. I loved the work, and it was exciting. I was learning tons of, amazing information, but my heart wasn't in it. I actually am much more of a holistic healer type of person. I've always taken herbs to heal myself, and I avoid pharmaceuticals almost always as much as possible. And I was living with some roommates, and one of them introduced me to CBD, which is one of the other components of cannabis. So it was actually a THC strain from a California dispensary called Harlequin, which is I think a 1-to-1 THC to CBD blend. And I was having anxiety at the time, and I was having trouble sleeping. And I tried this flower, and it actually helped me sleep and actually helped me get rid of my anxiety. And I had never heard of CBD before. So I was like, oh, what's this? Because I'm, have a science background, I wanted to look it up and find out more information about it. And when I discovered the endocannabinoid system, I was my mind literally was blown away. I didn't the fact that we have an endocannabinoid system, that we have receptors all over our body to interact with THC and CBD and other cannabinoids, really was an eye-opener, and I was totally hooked at that point. I was like, I need to get into this business. I need to be involved with this plant, because there's something here that we as humans are connected to it, because our bodies, work with the plant probably for thousands of more, maybe millions of years, that our bodies have built the system up. And that's how I got into it. And Kim, who's my childhood friend of over 41 years now, at the time I tried to convince her to join me because she has a marketing background. I'll let her tell that story. And it took me a little bit of time to convince her, but she finally joined me. So Kim can give a little background too.
Well, yeah, actually the first job Bridget gave me, not as a partner, but just to help her out with some of the marketing, was to edit one of her blogs about cannabis and the endocannabinoid system. And so I had to do some research, because when I'm editing, I really, really want to understand the subject better. And Bridget and I definitely have personal experience with cannabis from when we were teenagers and in our 20s, but neither of us understood it as medicine. We understood it as, giggle smokes, fun, but not necessarily as something that could heal you. And so when she gave me her blog to edit and I read about the endocannabinoid system, I thought, what? I would have learned about that in school if we actually had one. I thought it was like fake news, you know. But I dug into, Bridget sent me all of these links to incredible research that's out there. A lot of it comes from Israel, where the THC molecule was first studied and discovered. And it blew my mind too. I just thought, wow, we really do have this system that works hand in hand with cannabinoids and terpenes and flavonoids from the cannabis plants. Like, I like to think of it like a spaceship landing on the dock.
Docking.
It just, they fit perfectly. In fact, they named it the endocannabinoid system because of they were studying THC at the time, and that's how they found out that we have an endocannabinoid system. And so once I realized that and tried Bridget's products, we were walking to dance class every week together, and she would give me her eye cream and give me her face serum. And the thing that really had the immediate effect that convinced me that there's something truly magical and healing about cannabis, and Bridget's products in particular, was her deep calm massage oil, because I had herniated discs in my lower back and had cracked my coccyx a long time ago in an accident. And I had been on opioids and heavy painkillers for many years. And after that, just a ton of Advil. And I really didn't think that an oil could possibly take that level of pain away. And she said, you have nothing to lose. Just give it a shot. Just try it. And I did. And I have been using it ever since. And I have gotten off of Advil for my back. And so I personally understand the healing part of it. And I was sold, like, let me in, let's do this. So now we work together. And my background is I used to work for nonprofits. I was a development director, so I raised money for mostly small grassroots organizations having to do with the environment and mostly with community organizing throughout the Bay Area and actually throughout California. So my heart is really in social justice and the environment, and it's a perfect match for Green Bee Botanicals because, you know, actually the thing that Bridget said to me that made me want to be her partner was, we're going to have a foundation someday, and I'm going to need someone to lead it. And I was like, okay, I'm in, let's do it.
You know, I find it amazing, I think, to hear these aha moments, you know, to hear Bridget, you talk about that spark that you had there. And then coming from the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, you already had a baseline knowledge of how things like this work. And so I love the fact that it spurred so much interest and so much curiosity in you that it really led you down this path. And you know, Kim, with you, it's the same thing that we hear from so many people, is that we have that initial skepticism, I think, when we first hear about the endocannabinoid system and all of the things that it can impact and all of the different ways that it could, you know, potentially help with health and wellness issues. And we have that skepticism where we're like, oh, come on, it can't be that good. It can't be that good. But like you said, then we start to dig in and we start to really look at the research and we start to use the products and we start to see the difference. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, they were right all along. And there's all of these possibilities that this plant offers. And it's just absolutely amazing to me.
I was just going to say, not to mention the side effects are not there, you know, like with pharmaceutical drugs, as you know.
Yes.
So it's just so much better.
Right.
For everyone.
Right. And, you know, just as a cannabis, you know, consumer myself, and my husband is a medical cannabis patient, you know, just to see the ways that it has impacted him and impacted his health and the changes that we've seen, you know, that's the beauty, I think, of it is having those stories and being able to say, look, yeah, everybody can get high. Everybody can get high. But when you start to really understand those compounds and use them in a way with what I call with intent, then there's a whole different segment of cannabis that many people haven't even begun to understand yet. And it's just so fun for me to see companies like yours, because one of the things that I love about your site is all of the education that you do. And so I think it's all of these things that are eventually going to lead us down this path of having this be more well-known, having it be more accepted, and, hopefully have these products more widely available for, the people that really need them. Bridget, before we dive into talking more about the product line, though, the first thing that I would really love to talk about is tell us about the facility. Tell us about your partnership, where your cannabis come from. Just give us kind of a little background, a little rundown on your operation and how you function at Green Bee Botanicals.
So we have basically two businesses. One is the hemp line that we have, that I formulate all the products, and they're currently being formulated by a company in Utah. They're our manufacturer partner. They're called Grateful Goddess Organics. We love them. They're also a family-owned business, and they're starting to grow, and we're really excited for them. And we get our hemp from, as well as our cannabis, from Sonoma Hills Farm. So Sonoma Hills Farm is in Petaluma, California, in wine country. And we love them. They're just like our friends. They're our family. We actually saw them on Sunday. We were at an amazing wellness fair up north together. And it was kind of a crazy fair. It was like, kind of your usual wellness fair with Reiki and massage and crystals and all that. But there was a whole section of cannabis brands that were all in this special under the redwoods kind of area. And it was really beautiful. I'm getting off topic, but so they make both of our hemp and our cannabis. And you may or may not know that those have to be grown in separate fields and separate areas. The cannabis is like grown behind fences. So it's like blocked off and you can't get to it unless you have authorized entry. But then, so that cannabis, we take that and we use that to manufacture our cannabis line, which is done in San Rafael, which is also just north of San Francisco. And that's a very small operation there, our manufacturing.
Well, the team that is we're partnering with to manufacture our cannabis line is they're women-owned, women-founded, and by Susanna and her mom, Dee Dee. Is it Dee Dee?
Dee Dee.
And Susanna's husband, Greg, and they're amazing. They're so cool. I mean, I'm sure that your audience knows that, especially in California, there's so many musical chairs going around and companies going into business and out of business. And basically we've jumped from a few co-manufacturers already. And Greg and Susanna just said, sure, we'll help you out. I mean, they're just amazing people, and their brand is called Sweet Relief. They make amazing award-winning products as well. And they're just exactly the kind of people that we like to work with. And the other thing I would add about Sonoma Hills Farm is that, so it's owned by Mike and Shauna Harden and Joyce Sonali. They're also women-owned, and their farmer is Aaron Kiefer from the French Laundry. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's internationally famous. It's a Michelin-starred restaurant, and he was their culinary gardener. Growing all the food. So Aaron knows how to grow. He grows amazing food. Even at the cannabis and hemp farm, they grow food. They grow flowers. They have wildflowers. They have bees. They have
animals.
Sorry? Animals. They have pigs, goats, cows, Highland cows. It's just an amazing, beautiful, beautiful space. And every time I'm there, I get goosebumps from the top of my head to my feet, because you feel like you're bonding with Mother Nature up there. And they produce the highest quality of everything. And not only that, when the pandemic hit, because they grow lettuces and vegetables. I mean, talk about farm to table. That, you know, when they host anyone for dinner or lunch there, it's like 100 feet from the table, the food that they're serving you. But when the pandemic hit, they delivered and donated boxes and boxes of food to the local restaurants that were really suffering. So again, one thing Bridget and I love about owning our own business is we get to choose who we work with. And they're exactly the kind of people we love working with. So
let's talk about the product line then, because you're talking about all of these different companies and all of these different women-owned entities that are, you know, included in part of your production process. So talk to me about your product line. Why did you go down this route for doing the topical skincare type product line? And what's special, do you think, about this segment of the cannabis and hemp space?
Well, so when I first started, you know, I was working full time still, and I just started experimenting in my kitchen. And I was, in the very beginning, I was helping with the regulations in San Francisco to help equity partners get a better, you know, kind of make the deal better for them, and also to keep the compassion program in San Francisco, where actually the compassion programs actually started in California to deal with the HIV/AIDS crisis and, you know, cancer patients, etc. So I met a lot of people, and I met a lot of other small brands just starting out, and a lot of them, or some of my best friends, were making tinctures, really amazing tinctures. And that was actually my first plan, was to make tinctures. But then after I met all these amazing brands doing that already, I thought, well, I don't want to compete right away with my friends who are just starting out. So I thought, well, what else could I make that I feel, you know, is something that's close to my heart, or, you know, like something that just comes naturally to me, was like making topicals. So I just, you know, that's when I made the massage oil. That was my first product. And I took, you know, herbal kind of, you know, historical or traditional herbal, you know, traditions, and created this like infusion of olive oil with all these herbs: comfrey, calendula, lavender, chamomile, and then added cannabis. Also, I made my own extractions to add the cannabis. And I had been reading about the use of topicals and how it can help people with pain and inflammation without getting them high. And I thought, well, that's also really good. That fits my demographic also, because I'm very sensitive to THC. I don't really want to get high. So it didn't make sense for me to make an edible, for example, that I couldn't really test on myself because I would get too high. So that's another reason. So, and once I started giving these topicals to my friends, they were like, oh, you should make this, you should make that, you should, you know, it was like I was getting all this information or input from friends saying, I mean, that's actually where the eye cream idea came from, is someone suggested it to me. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a great idea, you know, because eye cream is sort of a product to use in very small amounts in specific, you know, delicate tissues on the face and neck. And so that seemed like a perfect use for that, for cannabis. And I mean, I could show you the products a little bit if that's helpful. This is our massage oil. It comes in a box, but
and this is the product that Kim was talking about. That's so lovely.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 3-to-1 THC to CBD blend in olive oil with all those other herbs.
Now, just to verify too, your THC products, though, those are only available in California right now. Is that right?
Exactly.
For now.
Okay. Yeah, they're now available through our website because we have a delivery partner, so we can deliver almost anywhere in California. But yeah, you have to live in California for those. And then there's the renewing serum, which was the product that came latest, and that's also for your face. So. And that's, I think, what makes our products unusual in the cannabis space, is there aren't that many products for the face. Even the topicals that are out there are more for the body, more for kind of like a replacement for like Bengay or Tiger Balm or things like that have a very, you know, potent scent like menthol or camphor smelling and smell very medicinal. Ours smell much more herbally and
gentle.
Are very lightly scented. So they're not like you don't walk into the room and they're like, oh, you know, you must have some back pain because I can smell you.
Right.
Yeah. One of the 99 High Tide, the dispensary down in Malibu, we visited them, and they said the reason a bunch of clients keep coming back for, or what they say is very different about our massage oil, is that it smells really good and it works, you know, so it's different. And the other thing I wanted to say about why Bridget made these particular products, besides not wanting to compete, and by the way, that's a big motto for us, why compete when we can collaborate? That's also the Blunt Brunch Girls motto, which we love and why we love sponsoring their events. But there weren't any, Bridget didn't mention this part, but there were not any cannabis products for the face when she started making them and selling them in 2015. And there still, to this day, are no eye creams. There are a few face oils out there now, but in California, but not the other products that we're making. So she was looking for a gap in the market to fill.
On your comment about being collaborative versus competitive, I love that thought process, because, you know, I've always kind of leaned towards the word co-opetition. You know, instead of being competitive with each other, if we can, you know, cooperate with each other, then, you know, everyone rises, right? Everybody gets an opportunity to kind of rise if we help each other. And I hate to say it this way, but you know what? I think it takes a female mentality to kind of look at it from that, because men are so competitive and men are so about, you know, being number one and being on top, where women are more apt, I think, to say, hey, let's all do this, you know, and we're very much more inclusive and want everyone, I think, to experience that. And so I love that approach that you take there of being more collaborative than you are competitive, and actually formulating your product line that way. So you're not competing with, you know, people that you already had that relationship with. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, it's happened more than many times that we've reached out to other women-owned brands and they've reached out to us to collaborate, to build something together. In fact, this other brand, Element Apothec, and started this organization. It's kind of like they're going to make a small boutique together with the other brands, and they invited us to join them. And we thought, wow, like it's amazing, because, you know, they're an amazing brand as well. And we're like, we're just proud to be part of it and really happy to be joining them. And they said the same exact thing.
Yeah, we make some of our products overlap. So it was knowing that, because we had already participated together in another collaborative, a collective called the Conscious Beauty Collective in San Francisco, and now we're participating in the Boston pop-up version of that. But Element Apothec was with us all the months in San Francisco in that collective. And so we know about each other. She knows we make products that are the same or similar to hers. And she still invited us to this new CBD and wellness collective, a new one that they're making and starting in Los Gatos. And that's exactly the mentality that we have. We've actually worked with other cannabis brands where we have a shared Google Doc, and we basically help each other not duplicate efforts. Like if we're looking for a new distributor, we parse out the work. So there's 4 or 10 of us doing the work instead of just 1 or 2 of us. And then we share the information so they don't have to call them and find out they aren't taking new clients, or, you know, and similarly, we're doing that with, Chaos and Robin of the pharmaceuticals company. They make tinctures and pre-rolls and amazing products, also very craft minded, really high quality products. and Bad Mommy, Lolita from Bad Mommy. She makes really high-end, low-dose chocolates. And we're helping each other. We're on calls together with potential investors and others together. And it's so much more pleasurable to work that way.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Stress away.
Right, right. And how much more fun is it? I mean, it's got to be more fun to work in that kind of collaborative nature than it is trying to step on each other to try to get ahead. I mean, I just feel like being that way and being very inclusive with everyone has got to be a much, more entertaining way to do business than to do things the other way. No,
for sure.
It's my absolute favorite thing. Sorry.
Oh, I'll bet. No, that's okay. Now, you also, with your products, you have this farm to face slogan. And I think that is absolutely so wonderful because, we hear the farm to plate and we hear, seed to sale and we have all of these, but farm to face I thought was really unique. And I would love for you to just talk a little bit about why is that so important? There's so many products out on the market today, traditional skincare products and things like that. And we're told all the time about how important it is to use sunscreen and put all these chemicals and these things on our bodies. But talk to us a little bit about why that is so dangerous.
Oh, well, so I wanted to, before I go into that, I wanted to say that for our cannabis line, we're using the slogan, weed for your face.
Okay.
But also farm to face is also, we've been using that for both our product lines. And yes, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because that's actually the other reason why we got into the hemp, or, when we got into the hemp, we realized because of our cannabis line, which had to be tested so rigorously for not only potency, but heavy metals and pesticides and residual solvents, we realized that was actually quite a selling point because especially with the boom in CBD products that you get at, Target or gas stations or wherever, those products are not actually required to be tested for anything, not even potency. Maybe that might be changing soon, but we wanted to be the brand that actually not only made claims for about what we didn't put in our products because of what's in the ingredient list, but in addition to test them to show people what wasn't in there. Wait, did I say that right? You know what I mean? We not only say, you can see what's on the label, but you also know because we tested it that they're clean. So there's no pesticides, heavy metals, and so on. And the clean beauty movement has, there's a lot of hype and a lot of greenwashing, but we really wanted to put our money where our mouth is and actually prove it to people. And we think that that's the next wave of clean beauty is people actually putting a C of A, a certificate of analysis with each batch to show, look, we tested this and there's no lead in it. And there's actually a lot of data to show that hemp products, because they're bioaccumulators, the hemp plant, Cannabis sativa, is a bioaccumulator. It can actually absorb heavy metals such as lead and others from the soil. So when you extract that the cannabinoids from it, it's actually getting even more concentrated. So that lead can be really concentrated in the products that you might find on your shelf that aren't tested. It's you don't know where that hemp is coming from, and actually, the other reason why we partner with Sonoma Hills Farm is because we know that they're growing their products, regeneratively, organically. And we know when we test it, it's going to come out clean every time. So we're not afraid to test it because we know it's going to be clean. And that, I think, you probably have seen, there's movies. What was the name of that movie, Kim, that was about Johnson & Johnson's talcum?
Oh, I think I have to look it up. But
it's,
right.
There's contamination out there that is actually harming people. So we want to be... Go ahead, Kim.
I feel like we've gotten a PhD in clean beauty or whatever you want to call it, because we actually didn't know all of the stuff that we now know, and more of it's becoming more public. There are more articles about it. You and your audience may have seen some of the headlines recently about a test and discovering a study of a whole bunch of cosmetics, and that half of them had contaminants like lead and mercury, like really bad stuff. And we figured it wasn't great, but we didn't realize it was that bad. And there is a backlash right now against the clean beauty movement, but it's mostly because there are brands, as Bridget just said, greenwashing, clean washing, where they say that they're clean. They slap a label on and they say, oh, made without this, or we're clean. But no one else is proving it. I shouldn't say no one else. There's got to be a few other brands. Well, like Element Apothic. Where we're actually attaching the test results to each batch of products and making it public on our website so that consumers can go there and see, yes, it actually is clean. And so I think this tiny movement within the movement will take off once people realize that it's proof. It's not just marketing.
Right.
And they'll understand that it really is so much better for you. There's so much evidence now that even if you take away all of the scaremongering of some brands and people out there about the bad stuff in our products, in personal products, there really are a lot of bad things in them. And so we need to, not only for the environment, but also for us humans and our babies and everything, we need to clean up our act and use products that have healthy, good things in them, and not the bad stuff that comes in because it's expedient to use. It's cheaper. It's going to cost a little bit more, but it's going to be worth it.
Right. Right.
So Kim, when you mentioned the study, you're talking about the Clean Label Project? Is that the one
No, but you should talk about that.
Yeah. So there's an organization, a nonprofit called the Clean Label Project, and they independently test. They go into stores and buy products and independently test them. So there's no relationship with the brands. They just take the products off the shelf, test them for lead, all the heavy metals, pesticides, and so on. And they put together a report. And if you go to their website, there's all different categories. There's like baby food, and there's,
diapers,
other foods, and CBD products and skincare products. And this is where I think we've used this data that showed that when they tested the CBD products that were, the stuff they bought off the shelf that was not tested, that not our products, but that like half of them or more had more lead in them than the Flint, Michigan water crisis. Like a lot of lead that's really would not be good to ingest or put on your skin.
And plasticizers, forever chemicals.
And also there were products that said they had CBD in them, but they had no CBD in them. There were products that said they were CBD, but they also had THC in them. Just a lot of things that were kind of like shocking to us because we're like, oh my God, like how could they let that happen? Besides the fact that they didn't test it. So, well,
how they let that happen is there's been almost zero regulation of the cosmetics industry in general. Almost none.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's been updated. Any of the rules have been updated for many decades. And California just passed a law recently, and I think late last year. And that's great. California is leading the country in that way, but there's still such a long way to go. The lobbyists are basically having their way with, and people just don't understand how dangerous some of this stuff is.
And that's something that's kind of concerned me all along. Not just, you mentioned the cosmetics industry never having any regulation. Well, now you factor in the fact that that they're getting ingredients from a hemp industry that also doesn't have any regulation and doesn't have any, testing mandates or standards from state to state. And then, now I feel like we're just kind of playing with fire to see, how many of these different products can we blend non-regulated products into and sell. And that's kind of where the issue lies, I think, in the market today, and especially in the hemp world is, there's got to be some regulations and some standards for how these products are being produced to make sure that consumers are staying safe.
For sure. I mean, especially if you look at like the vape crisis,
right.
That actually killed people.
Yep.
And
we could have chosen not to test our new hemp products, but we tested them and we spent the money on testing each batch because we really do believe in it. We use them ourselves, our families use them, our friends use them. We want them to be safe, and we want to prove it to consumers. It's, as Bridget said, we're walking the talk. So we test even though we aren't required to, but we are really hoping that the government steps up and starts mandating testing for other products as well.
That's the whole thing, is that for the companies that are ethical and that are testing their products and they are doing things right. I mean, obviously that's more cost involved for you. And so then it becomes the market, it becomes an advantage for those companies that aren't doing or taking these extra ethical steps. And so because they're able then to offer their product cheaper, and of course that gets them in a different price point. So, it's one of those things. I feel like regulation really is the only answer here, is getting that straightened out to where everyone, level that playing field out. So everyone has to follow the same set of rules.
Well,
Right.
It does remind me, one other factor that will help with that is time. Because I didn't mention, but I worked for close to 20 years with my family business, which is an analyst firm that studies technology and in Silicon Valley, Infinetics Research. And during the dot-com boom, there were so many market research firms that were selling what we called hockey stick forecasts to startups so that they could use those forecasts to get investment. And we were asked over and over and over, our company was asked to make similar types of forecasts that these startups could use in investment pitches. And we refused to do it if we didn't believe that market was going to do that. We held on to our belief that we needed to be honest about what we saw in the market. And in the long run, we did lose some business then, but in the long run, it helped our company because later people looked back during the dot-com bust and saw that Infinetics was one of the businesses that had true integrity. And it really helped our reputation. And I feel like similarly with Green Bee Botanicals, yes, right now it's really, it's extra tough for us because we're small, but in the long run, when people realize that about us, they're going to trust us even more.
100%. 100%. I don't think there's anything that'll sell a product more than integrity at the manufacturing level. I mean, I don't think there's anything that kind of bolsters the reputation of a product more than having that kind of integrity and saying, no, we're going to do things right. We know there's a cheaper way to do this. We know that we could, skip this test or skip that test, but you're doing things the right way. And I think that has, that speaks volumes to the quality of the product.
It does. And I want to add too that one thing that we also don't do that a lot in the cosmetics field do is we don't mark up our products by 7 to 10 times. It is more expensive to produce because we use organic. We use, high-end ingredients, and we use the top, best cannabis and the best hemp. And we go through all the extra testing. But where we cut is our own margins. We just feel like we're going to take the hit right now because in the long run, we're going to, again, we're in it for the long game. And I think that this strategy is going to be helpful because we're not we're not inflating our prices in a way that isn't justified. We're keeping it in a way that is accessible for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for a lot of people. Our pricing is very, very reasonable. It's, you know, a fraction of the cost of other products that don't have the same kind of credibility.
Bridget, tell me, what have been the challenges? What's really the biggest challenge you think right now for cannabis and hemp? Is it, you know, is it the stigma? Is it regulation? What's the biggest challenge that you face right now in growing your business and getting your product out there?
Gosh, where do I begin?
How much time do you have?
So, I mean, definitely the stigma, because there's still like payment processing services that won't allow us to use their services. There's banking is still an issue. You know, to be honest, my bank does not know what I'm doing, but because they didn't ask me the question, I didn't offer it. And so right now we're fine. A lot of banks, when I tried to sign up, they asked me directly, are you cannabis? Are you hemp? And I won't lie. So I just said yes. And then they say, we're sorry. Or they say, it'll be $500 plus a month.
Or
plus
$5,000
all these
a month.
other fees. You know, and so I just was like, no. I just kept asking. I just kept trying different banks, and finally I found one that didn't ask me that question. I'm not going to tell you who it was. But I just feel really lucky that I have a bank account. So that's still a real issue. The regulations, especially in California, are amazingly difficult. The taxes in California are upwards of 27-30%. I mean, that's outrageous. That's not even including the sales tax.
Want to kill a business?
Which is also high in California. What?
Want to kill a business? Here's how.
Want to kill a business. Right? And so our customers are like very, you know, loyal and willing, and, you know, they're doing their best. I mean, in California, I think they're working on a plan to get medical patients so they don't have to pay taxes or make that much easier for people. But so far, I don't think that's really the case right now. What else?
Education.
Oh, education. We still need to educate people a ton.
Right.
So thank you, Christina, for your help in helping to educate people. Distribution is, in California, the middleman that was required between us and our dispensaries. Mm. And they take another cut. They take, 15-20% of every sale as well. So, man,
right,
it's rough.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, like, our customers, we are helping people. People are getting helped by our products, and it just, it's so, what's the word? It makes me feel good that people are being helped with psoriasis and eczema,
rosacea,
arthritis,
scars,
acne, rosacea, so many things. And we have some amazing testimonials and like before and after pictures that our customers just sent to us without us even asking for them.
Right.
Because they're so excited to share the information.
I wish I could let you hear the voicemail from this young woman named Jen Bean. She's from Santa Barbara. She's had psoriasis for 10 years. And her mom found our eye cream at a dispensary down there and gave it to her to try. And she used it day and night for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, it cleared up her psoriasis, which, I mean,
wow.
When Bridget formulated these products, that wasn't even on her mind, right? So we found out, gosh, this must have been a year and a half ago or more, but so she wrote to us through our website and was thanking us. And we said, oh my gosh, we have to talk to you. So we asked her if she happened to have photos that she could share with us. And she did. And we were blown away. And we recently asked her if we could use her images in marketing, like to let people know. And because, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It really is. And she left me the cutest voicemail saying, absolutely, I want to sing it from the rooftops. You have helped me in so many ways. You've changed my life. But what is happening is this organic growth. For example, a guy who swims in the ocean with me, I found out he was a massage therapist, Naynad, and he asked to try our massage oil, and he started using it in his practice, and he loves it. And then late last year, August, I think, he had double knee replacement. He's a crazy athlete. He played squash for 20 years. He was on the Yugoslavian rowing national team, and just like really hardcore, really strong. But he had to get both knees replaced at the same time. And he asked for more of our massage oil, so I gave it to him. And he used it every day. When we show you these pictures, it's going to blow your mind. It blew mine. I couldn't believe the scars are almost invisible, and they look like Frankenstein scars. Wow. And it took the inflammation and pain away. And he was so thankful that he asked us if he could now introduce Green Bee to his clients and, have it in his massage. He's a professional massage therapist. And now he does. He has it in his massage office.
So let's go back to the topic of being women in the industry, because this is something obviously near and dear to my heart. I love helping other women in the industry kind of get their voice out there. But why is it so important, do you think, for women to be included in cannabis and hemp? And why do you feel like, as women yourself, why do you feel like you were really kind of drawn to this space?
It's funny. Like when I first got into it, almost every other person I worked with in the beginning in San Francisco was a woman. Sava, which is started by Andrea Brooks. She has a woman-owned delivery service here in San Francisco. And I was one of her very first brands on her site when she first started. So we met right when I was starting, right when she was starting. And so just was amazing to support each other in that way. And so from my impression from the beginning was that, everyone I worked with was a woman, but it was partly because all the networking events I would go to, like Women Grow, I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it was a national organization. They had all these networking events, and that's where I met a lot of these people, a lot of these women. And it was coming from the pharmaceutical industry or, the corporate world. Almost everyone I worked with there was a man, all my bosses were men pretty much. And it just was like night and day, like going to a place where you were listened to, and all the women who were advising you, all the people who were advising you were women. It was so refreshing. And back then, I think it was like 2015, and the majority or a large number of the businesses were owned by women back then, before legalization in California. Now it's much, much fewer. I mean, pretty much every brand that I was working with back then that were, my compatriots are out of business, many of them. And it's really the percentage of women in the business is dwindling.
There's a great movie about that called Ladybuds. Have you seen it?
I have it recorded, actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah, highly recommend it for your entire audience. It's fascinating and real.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we knew a lot of the women that were featured in that film. And it's heartbreaking, really, that they put their heart and soul into it. They have, some of them generationally have grown for generations and had a business, and then they just couldn't make it because of the regulations and the taxation and all kinds of things, But I think in general, it's, women make up 50% of the population, or more or less. And so there should be 50% of the business owners out there,
Agreed.
In any industry, so that's how I feel about it.
For me, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about collaborating versus competing. That is the energy that women bring to the table. And we see it again and again. I'll give you a really concrete example that just happened recently when we were having a meeting, and I won't say, what company it was, but it was, the CEO was a man, and everything, he was letting us know everything was going wrong. And there was like a big, company-wide meeting of brands. And it was silent for a bit, because he was just like, he was down about how hard things are, and this went wrong, and that's going wrong, and it costs too much, the taxes, it was just, and Chaos, the woman we were talking about from the pharmaceuticals company, said, how can we help? And it just completely changed the whole conversation, the energy, the dynamic. And we all started brainstorming about, okay, this is reality. What can we do to help each other? And that just keeps happening over and over. And I'll be honest, I would have probably given up by now, if not for working with Bridget. And when I'm feeling down, she pulls me up, and when she's feeling down, I pull her up. We're good at that. But it has been an incredible struggle getting up to this point, a real roller coaster. And and having so many female-owned brands that we work with and see at events and help each other, it is my favorite thing about working in cannabis, by far. And, I hear a lot and I read a lot about how many men are in the business, and we have just been so fortunate in my view. I mean, again, shout out to Mike Harden from Sonoma Hills Farm, and Aaron Kiefer, and also Chris and Clayton from Somatic, a brand that's no longer here, but an amazing brand. They really should have made it. But there are some amazing men in the market. But we, for the most part, work mostly with women, and we just help each other. As they say, rising tides lifts all ships. And I think that's we hear that a lot in cannabis, right, especially up here in Northern California. But it's not just the same. It isn't just the same. People really do help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And, I love your perspective on all of that, and the way that, like you said, it's a challenge, and thank you for being real about that, because I think a lot of times people think that cannabis and hemp businesses, they just have armored trucks and shovels sitting out back because of all the cash that they're shoveling in. And it's not,
Who thinks that?
Right? It's not an easy business to get into. It's definitely not an easy business to maintain. And so, it's being real about all of this and being honest about it, I think, that really is going to help advance the industry and really help get, the truth out there about this industry and all of the challenges that it has. And, the stigmas are still there. And like you said, we still have to educate people, and there's a lot of things going on. But on the flip side of that, just like you said, you've got these customers that are coming to you and talking to you about what life-changing products that you're making. And so there's a flip side of reward to it that you have to factor in. And I've been in other industries. I've worked in several other segments of the world. And you know what? I don't think there's anything more rewarding, at least not for me, than what I've learned and what I've experienced here in the cannabis space. And a lot of it is just having these conversations with women like you and talking about how women are coming together and just really making a difference in how businesses are being operated and ran.
Absolutely. And the other thing that helps keep me going is I keep the Longview, again, where I imagine, so picture we're back in 1915, 1919, 1920, and alcohol, the prohibition against alcohol, everything's changing, right? Imagine being some of the first companies there was still a stigma, there were still laws, there were still cities that didn't allow it. A lot of parallels to what's happening now, except cannabis is actually an amazing healing medicine. Right. It truly is. There's so much proof now. There's so much evidence that lots more studying is being done now. But go to Israel if you want the best research proving this stuff. Because of prohibition of cannabis in the U.S., we haven't had that kind of research here, and it's happening now, thankfully. But we are at that very, very early stage, and if we can just hold on, we're gonna be known later on in history as being one of those first, because we kept going, and so we're gonna keep going.
So that's
Kim.
That's a great segue though into my next question. I want to know what's on the horizon, what's in the future for Green Bee.
Well, we have a partner that will take us to 2 new states. That's on the books for 2023. So we're very hopeful that that's going to move forward, right on schedule. Nothing goes on schedule in this industry, but
well, it was supposed to happen this month. So
yeah, it was
January 2023 is the new schedule.
Right. So we're doing that. I have a new product for cannabis in California coming out. It's a balm that's like a hot balm. It's a secret ingredient. Really exciting product that is very pain relieving and for multiple things.
Well, I just want to say, we do this exercise more or less weekly, where I think there might be a name for it, but basically you talk to each other as if the thing already happened, the thing that you want to happen. So if we were to do that, we would be saying, let's say you and I, the 3 of us, are sitting down 5 years from now doing a follow-up podcast, and we're talking about everything that's happened in the last 5 years. We would be telling you that we can't believe how much quicker the industry evolved once California tweaked its regulations and more states legalized cannabis, and then the country finally federally at the federal level legalized cannabis, and the whole country went crazy. Some were happy, some were not happy, but the people who weren't happy about it started to realize, because it became such a mainstream medicine, that was actually a good thing, and that all these decades of propaganda that we've been successfully ingesting for all this time about how bad it is for you, that it was really just propaganda. And there's lots of us who already know that, but I think there's way more people in the U.S. who still think that that there's some truth to that propaganda that the government has been spewing.
Yeah, one thing I want to add is actually Kim and I had a brainstorm with Lily, our other partner, the other day about how we want to move the brand, what direction we want to move the brand. Kim and I have both been environmentalists from, since we were children, and we really understand, we're as you listen to the news, you understand how dire the situation is for the planet.
Right. And
we want to contribute in some way to solve that problem. And the one way we thought of is helping people to rewild their own backyards, people who have lawns, and there's like acres and acres and acres, thousands of acres of lawn in the United States that a portion of which could be used to plant native plants that would bring back the native insects that feed the native birds and just bring that ecosystem back to life, which is what we need. I think over 50% of the native insects in the United States have been wiped out already. Right. And that's, they're kind of like the canary in the coal mine, So we're having a big campaign that's going to move to educate people and, to help. I'm not exactly sure what the details of the plan is going to be, like how we're going to do this, but that's our hope. Before we have the opportunity to build a foundation to, raise money to promote these programs, we want to just start educating people about it because it's so important. And that's like the thing closest to our hearts. And why our company is called Green,
right.
Green Bee, is because we're an environmental company as well as a cannabis company. And I'm really excited about this idea, and it's really brand new. Like, we haven't really even hammered out the details, but.
Well, we just the other day at the Unity Festival that Bridget was talking about earlier, Bridget handed out drought-friendly native California poppy seeds, and we asked everyone if they like to grow flowers and if they have space for it, and we gave out a lot of those, and that's just the beginning. And I've learned so much. I have a backyard, and I'm completely, slowly replanting things that will attract native insects and native birds, because I don't think people understand how big of an impact that's having on our overall environment, worldwide, is that we're driving all of the natives away and into extinction. And the way to bring them back is to create. I've always loved wild gardens. That's always been my favorite anyway. I don't like really manicured lawns, so it fits for me anyway. But that's what's going. In fact, that's what Sonoma Hills Farm did as well. They rewilded the entire farm and brought back. When we visited, there were so many insects when they were allowing everyone to cut wildflowers to bring home. And every single flower, every plant had bees, green bees. There were bumblebees, there were butterflies, there were ladybugs, there were dragonflies. It was just covered, and you can hear birds. We can do that in our backyards, even in San Francisco here.
I love it. I think that you're on the right track. You've got some good sustainability and regenerative initiatives going there. And I think these are the things that are really going to build the companies that we look to and depend on in the future. So I think when you're talking about the future of Green Bee and looking in your crystal ball, and when the rules for interstate commerce lift and the federal regulation gods sing down on the cannabis industry, it's companies like yours that are going to survive that, because you've already got these initiatives put in place.
Oh, thank you.
I think so. We hope so.
Well, ladies, I have had an absolute blast today talking to you and talking about Green Bee Botanicals, and obviously talking about women in this space and just how vital that is. I love having companies like yours on the show and having these conversations, because I just feel like they're so very important. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend a little time with me.
Thank you. We really had a great time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.